On August 31st, 2019, the National Register of Citizens was released in the state of Assam. Now, this is purportedly a list of Indian citizens residing in the state of Assam. It was created through an application-based process in which all 33 million residents of Assam applied. Ultimately, 1.9 million residents were excluded, which meant that their citizenship status came under a cloud. Now, you can trace the NRC back to the 1951 NRC, which is created for the state of Assam. The first census of independent India was conducted in 1951. As we know, the census is a decadal exercise in which the population of a country is enumerated, their demographic characteristics captured, and it is usually used for policy making. In the state of Assam, in the 1951 NRC, data collected through the NRC was transferred to registers which were used primarily, it seems, to create a record of everyone present in Assam in 1951. And that was called the 1951 NRC. Important to note here that a similar exercise was not conducted anywhere else in the country. So while the census was conducted everywhere else, it was only in Assam that the census data was transferred into the NRC. Now, subsequently, there have been, at different points of time historically, demands for the updation of the NRC, including during the Assam movement, which took place from 1979 to 1985. However, that demand was never actually turned into a policy decision. In 2009, there was a writ petition filed by a civil society group called Assam Public Works. This writ petition was filed in the Supreme Court seeking an updation of the 1951 NRC to include a comprehensive list of all Indian citizens residing in the state of Assam. This writ petition is filed and an amendment is brought to the citizenship rules, registration rules of 2003 to include modalities for the updation of the NRC in Assam. The citizenship registration rules of 2003 already prescribed a method of NRC updation, creation and updation for the entire country. This was brought in 2003 along with the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2003, which allowed the central government or granted the central government the ability to create a comprehensive list of Indian citizens if it so chose to. And the amended rules of 2003 also laid out the modalities for creating this. In 2009, a separate set of modalities are created only for the state of Assam, which is an application-based process. So every single person present in Assam is required, therefore, to apply to be included in the NRC. The NRC updation process that follows is primarily a Supreme Court supervised process. Multiple sets of modalities are created for the updation of the NRC, and the process rolls off in the state of Assam. As I mentioned, this was an application-based process, and each applicant had to essentially situate themselves within their larger family and prove that they indeed were persons who were present in Assam before 1971 or were related to people who were present in Assam before 1971. Why 1971? Because the NRC modalities that were introduced in 2009 relied upon the cutoff date that Section 6A had prescribed. And the cutoff date in Section 6A was 24th of March, 1971. So in this application-based process, as I mentioned, the vast majority of people who were residents of Assam who claimed citizenship applied, and 1.9 million people were excluded in August 31st, 2019. Before this final exclusion list, there had been multiple draft lists which had also been released, which excluded larger numbers of people. In the second draft list that was introduced, which excluded a very large number of people, everyone excluded from the draft list had to provide their biometric details to the government. And biometric details here means your iris scan and your thumbprints, your fingerprints. As a result of providing these biometric details, and because of the NRC modalities, anyone who was rejected from the second draft list found themselves unable to apply for an Aadhaar card, which, as we know, in India is linked to pretty much a large majority of entitlements. And this is a situation that continues to this date, that even if your name is in the final NRC, if you were rejected from the draft list and you had to provide your biometric details, then chances are that you've not been able to get an Aadhaar card if you didn't have one already. The final list, as I said, comes out in August 2019. What happens after exclusion? The idea was, and this was given provided for in the schedule to the citizenship rules of 2003, as well as in the Foreigners Tribunal Order 1964, is that every person excluded, so all 1.9 million people excluded from the NRC, would be able to file an appeal against their exclusion. This appeal would be filed after they received speaking orders describing why or what grounds they had been rejected or excluded from the NRC. These exclusion orders or these speaking orders were never received because there has been, subsequent to the publication of the final NRC, some amount of controversy around the modalities that were employed to implement the NRC. In fact, in 2021, the coordinator, the state coordinator for the NRC, filed an IA before the Supreme Court claiming that there had been corruption in the manner in which updation of the NRC had taken place under his predecessor, and sought selective re-verification of the NRC. All of this has meant that even while the exercise was technically concluded in 2019, people who have been excluded from the NRC have found their status continues to be indeterminate. They continue to be able to vote, but because they don't have Aadhaar cards, many of them don't have Aadhaar cards, for example, they are effectively deprived of many rights which they otherwise would have access to had they not given their biometrics. The finality of the NRC exercise itself has been called into question. The legitimacy of the exercise has been called into question within Assam as well. There have been multiple calls for a re-verification of the NRC, but so far there have not been any steps seemingly taken by the state government to re-verify. Neither has been there any step taken to scrap the entire exercise, which means that if you found your name in the NRC, then good for you. But if your name was out of the NRC, then your legal status as a citizen of India hangs in limbo.